play with audio. So.
Alright, hello everybody. We are here today with the cast of 12 Angry Men. It's the Community Playhouse's upcoming production. We're going to talk to them today about what it's like to play on one of a very iconic film. Maybe not iconic at its time, but over the years, since its beginning in 1957, has really made waves. So I'm going to talk to these guys. Okay. So first off, the director. Who's our directors?
Director.
Them out there. Okay. Can somebody give me a little bit of an overview of the story? Who's familiar of what kind of set us up for what we're walking into?
Yeah.
Well, they're serving on a jury for a first-degree murder case. A teenage son has killed his father, stabbed him.
Allegedly.
Thank you. The lawyer here at the end of the table.
Yeah.
Allegedly, and we're trying to determine his guilt. When we all come into the jury room, the preliminary vote that is taken is 11-1. And as the show progresses, we discover details and facts that weren't revealed in court that actually begin showing that there's reasonable doubt in the guilt of this individual. And basically that's the story. In fact, it goes all the way through, and one by one we fall until there's one left, and that's juror number 3. And finally, he's the last one to finally give out.
Okay. Now, obviously, this is the play is after the drama that came out in 1957, which was a television show, I think, at first, and then they made it into a movie.
Right.
Was watching the movie at all something that has everybody watched the movie in here? Familiar with it?
Yes.
So was that at all key to getting into character, or no?
It was for me.
Okay.
I played juror number 3, and when I saw Lee J. Cobb's performance in the movie, I like, wow, I was really taken by that.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Well, I'd like to start off with talking about getting into character and moving on from that with juror number 8. So Morgan, you play juror number 8, obviously. Talk about, obviously Henry Fonda, big actor, kind of some big shoes to fill. Talk about getting into that character, the one who ultimately starts the fire for the whole scene of the show.
It's kind of, you watch other actors do the role, but you don't want to copy someone, so you have to find something about that role that you find special or that you can key off of. So I think in the process right now, I'm still not trying to find a character, but still building on it. You want to make, as an actor, you want to make a role your own, but you definitely want to look back on the people that have done it before, and learn how they did it and how they saw the character. And so it's a process, and it probably won't be done until opening night, but hopefully I'll find it before then. But yeah, it's a process, and everybody does it differently. I don't think it's going to be the same for anybody around the table. So you just kind of take a character and try to build it as best you can, build a backstory and what you think would be right.
Okay. And some of if y'all want to chime in too, how each of you got into character for these parts. And even looking at how those particular characters were their decision at that point. Did y'all struggle with that at all? If y'all were, as what you would have looked at the situation now versus how they were looking at it. Anybody struggle with that?
I certainly hope that 3 and 10 struggled with the role because I would hate to think that is their natural tendency and propensity to behave.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think everyone had some elements of struggle as they think about this. When I think about Grant, who is as astute thinker as you can find, playing a role of someone who's pretty darn slow as a tourist, that's a real stretch.
Yeah.
And as you work around the room and consider Lynn, who is methodical and engineer, and he's a snake oil salesman in this.
Yeah.
A nice snake oil.
A nice snake oil salesman. But candidly, the best acting I have seen thus far has been in the last 10 minutes as we talk about the evolution of the role and what I'm doing. And what that really means is I'm still trying to remember what the words are.
Yeah.
And so it's been a dynamic, wonderful group with which to work.
Okay. Going in, did you just audition for a specific part, or just you auditioned
No.
and they said, okay, you're going to be
We just
it?
came in and read.
And they asked us, you
Hey,
know,
hey, Keith.
they did ask us if there was a particular part we were drawn to, but nobody was guaranteed anything. Are you
Okay.
auditioning for this or this? They were just looking for a jury, as they put it, 12 angry
Okay.
men.
Now, this is not as far as being an active play, you know, there's no set changes, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just basically based around a table. So no costume changes, no song and dance, just very, you're focusing on the whole dialogue. Talk about keeping that momentum, keeping that intensity for the audience. Has that been a struggle, or how have you worked to
We're
accomplish
not
it?
there yet. That's the direction point out. We have what, 8 more rehearsals to keep
Nine more.
And one of the challenges I think all of us face is the fact that we go for pages and pages and we don't say anything. You do a play with multi characters and you're in one scene and not in another. So it's easy to when it's just you and somebody else, or you small group of people. But as large as this group is and the interaction that takes place, it's tricky. It's tricky. I mean, I go for 2 pages and I just pop out one line when the 4 is talking about going to the movies.
Right.
And I just say, what's going on? What's this? And a page and a half before that, I didn't say a thing. And a page and a half after that, I don't say anything. So I think that's a challenge all of us have faced.
I think one of the things that helps though is that the process of sitting on stage for an hour and a half without a break
Right.
actually helps because it's fatiguing. Well, that's the same thing that's happening to the guys in the jury room. It's hot, they're getting tired, they're getting fatigued, they're getting testy. That part actually helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But they're allowed to go to the bathroom.
You, however, are not.
Oh, we have a bathroom, it just doesn't function.
We just gotta use it. You can only go in it.
And we might be going to the bathroom, you don't know.
You can throw that in there. How and talk. I know you said it's been challenging for y'all to keep momentum. How are you going to keep the momentum for the audience? What's I guess. Yeah, I think that's the best way I can say it.
The storyline is very, very intriguing, and that's one of the things that I noticed when I first watched the movie. I thought, a movie that's set around a table, how interesting can that be? But it's very, very well written, and you learn different things about the characters, and there's different points of intensity that'll grab your attention, and there is some movement. We don't just stay around the table, so there is, things that the audience looks this way, looks that way, their attention is diverted, and as John was saying, one of the things that, since we're all there the whole time, one of the things that we have to do is we key off each other, and we have to make sure we get our lines right because it's a cue line for someone else, and there's constant dialogue. There's very little just no talking, and so that's challenging. But I think that the audience though will be intrigued because there's stuff that's unfolding either about the case itself or about the individual characters.
Okay.
It's also a constant build-up too. It's 12 angry men, but they don't walk into the jury room kicking chairs over the
Yeah.
In real life they do, because they're just mad they're on jury duty.
Yeah.
But it's a constant build-up, and mainly there's a couple people that are really obnoxious and have terrible attitudes, and it just so the tension grows up until the very end.
I think for the audience, it's going to be very interesting to be able to see the characterization. I think the strength of this play is the characterization, because you've got 12 very different people, and they're going to easily find themselves being like one of them,
Okay.
or they'll know somebody that's like one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Will it surprise some of the people that show up who know you guys outside of
Well,
his production?
definitely hope so.
Yes. This man is a preacher, and he does a different kind of preaching
Oh,
than this.
yeah. The 10 is the biggest.
We passed out a lot of cards.
10 is the biggest. He just hates. He hates this group of people. In the show, it's obvious that they're talking about Puerto Ricans. It becomes very apparent.
Yeah.
But to me, the modern parallel, if you update this, would be Latinos,
Mhm.
because we're facing the same kind of situation. There's a lot of hate
Yes.
involved in that, unfortunately, nowadays. So, you know, as I thought about this part, I'd hate to think, well, I had a relative like this. I had a relative that was very prejudiced.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys get the same reaction from 10. Your skin kind of, when he goes on that tirade, because at the end of the show, 10 goes on this tirade that goes on forever, you know, and it makes your skin crawl. I mean, in fact, everybody except for a few people get up and move away from the table, and all. But I would hope the people that know me and know that that's not me. But I had relatives like that, you know. So I kind of think about his attitudes and how he acted and behaved. You know, it didn't matter. Yeah, and one thing that this character does, he makes an assumption when he walks in this courtroom. Everybody's the same race as him. He assumes everybody has the same attitude that he has, and he kind of tries to push that off on everybody. And that's not the case. It becomes very, very obvious to him that's not the case at the very, very end. You know.
One of the things I found fascinating was how that as the characters develop, you begin to notice the logic and reasoning that they use is based upon the life events that they've had, and they become very intense. And like especially number 3, I mean, he just makes me cry at the end because he finally realizes that he's replaying part of his life in this trial. And so the character development is really intense.
He's projecting himself, especially on the accused.
Yes.
Yeah, it becomes very apparent. Yeah.
Okay. Well, in talking about the modern parallels, to touch on that, I know we could probably be here all night talking about such. How do you feel that the audience, today's audience, can relate to this play and to this drama that was written in the time of the 50s?
I think you could change the jurors, you could change the ethnicity, you could change the year, and leave everything else intact, and you would be fine. You change the gender. It's such a timeless story, and a story about human interactions, both between the legal system and the jurors, but internally within those jurors and how they think and how they develop and how they hate and develop respect and develop an appreciation for others' positions.
We'll also touch on, and feel free anybody to chime in, what have you got from being involved with this production?
If I had any hair, it would have been gone from having committed to memorize the lines. I developed a real appreciation, though, for those in the theater community and the time that they invest to put on production. Because candidly, my role has in the past been, I'm the guy from school who walks on stage and kind of say hi and get the cameo and leave, and I was in a play.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck with real life lines, and that's work, you know. So I really have an appreciation of the investment that folks make, especially some of the jurors here who have an overwhelming amount of lines and have to pour out their soul as they deliver those lines. It's got to be a challenge.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think I've developed a great respect for our legal system and why it's designed the way it is. I mean, that's one of the facts that's brought out. A couple of the characters really speak to that. Juror number 11, who was a foreign character on the jury, is really brings that point out very poignantly. You know, having come from another country in the play, and then he talks about, you know, why he's so glad that our legal system is the way it is. And I think the audience will appreciate that too.
Okay. And what do you hope the audience gets from the story?
I hope making the audience think. I think in general, we have a lot of citizens who take a lot of things for granted, and they don't get put in a position where they have to think. And hopefully when they come see something, it's put them in a position to think. We were talking in one of the rehearsals a few weeks ago where some of us were missing, and we're talking about the fact that every character is flawed. I mean, there are good guy, bad guy characters, but every character has some flaw where they don't apply what we would say the legal principles just right, or they have a bias or something. And we said, but interestingly, the process is better than the people. In summary, at the end, you get the kind of the right result, despite the fact that the people aren't perfect. And
Even though Juror 8 is the one that wants to talk and doesn't want in 5 minutes to condemn to send somebody to the electric chair, even he has doubts, and he says so. You know, even he's a little bit conflicted in what, but he wants to. He doesn't think that you know, you're dealing with someone's life. They deserve more than just a 5-minute vote. We walk in the jury and send him to the electric chair. I mean, he thinks it needs to be talked about, and in the process of that discussion, that's when we discover things. We discover things about each other. We discover things about the case.
That's right. I mean, I hope that anybody else in the audience that ever has to be in a jury will remember some of the things that they saw in this about, you know, presumption and, you know, bringing in a lot of your own personal prejudices and so forth. It'd be a really good tool for people.
I think the audience could probably talk about this play for several days afterwards, trying to decide was he guilty or not.
That's right.
Because we never really say whether he is or not.
We just all we all reach a point of reasonable doubt, and that's what we go on. Because that's what we're charged by the judge to do. If there's reasonable doubt, he's,
And I think what it teaches more than anything else is not to be afraid to be the one that's outstanding, you know, because you may be the only one. And to be honest with you, he wouldn't have been the only one if he hadn't said anything. I mean, he could have gone easy and just gone with everybody else and had it done with. But he was willing to throw the ape on the table, as it were. And then once the discussion got started, it just snowballed.
That's what my mom says.
we're gonna see if the cat licks it up.
Going to give away too many of his grand.
Okay, guys. Well, that's it. I really do appreciate you meeting with me this evening, and we'll just give this about 5 seconds. So 1,